Yo, what's good? Welcome to this video on creating an action log inside of SharePoint. You know I don't like to waste time. I'm gonna get right into it. Let's hop in the computer. We'll work now, talk later. You alright? Alright. Let me like I like to do, I'm gonna shrink this real quick. Okay. So right now we're on the projects page, my home page of the project site. We can talk about this in another video, but this is just my project site. You can see I got all my projects, a risk register, stakeholder register, the timeline. All these are just all sitting here on my project site. So I'm going to click View All Projects, and you'll see that I have a Pacific Bank heist, the Pierce acquisition, and we have a project to eliminate Marlowe. A lot of different projects going on. You know what I'm saying? And then two of them are active. I mean, two of them are not active. One of them is. This is a list that I made, and I put whatever columns that I wanted to in here. So for every project, I have the details of it, a start date, an end date, and an active status. Now, though, I'm going to go ahead and create a action log. So if you are using Teams, right? When you're in Teams, you can just... so let me say it. I recommend that you use the project site, the SharePoint site that came with your Teams or came with your team. And the way you do that is when you're looking at the posts, like if you go to your team, you go to the general tab, the general channel. You look at your team, you go to the general channel. When you come all the way over here and look at these three dots, you can open in SharePoint. That will open the corresponding SharePoint site for your team. The reason I tell you to do that is because everything is all together. When you create a team, and I know a lot of organizations use Team. That's why I'm recommending this. When you create a team, you get a SharePoint site, you get a notebook, you get you get a group, you get a lot of things together, and And so what I'm doing is saying, if you already have it, then use it. And what I mean is, if you already have a SharePoint site because you created a team, use the SharePoint site. Don't go create a new one for no reason. However, if you did want to create a new one, this is what you do. You go to click on SharePoint up there, or if you go to the app launcher anywhere inside of the 365 suite, find SharePoint, click on SharePoint, you'll come back to the same page, and you could go right here, create site, create a team site, and keep going through the steps. But we're not doing that right now. I've already created my site, right? And it's this right here, the project site. So this is it. This is what I was showing you earlier. Here's my project site. I'm going to go to my all projects. I'm going to see, okay, I got 3 projects. That's what's up here. Let me count these. All right, I got 3 projects. Cool. Now I'm going to create the action log. So I'm going to go to the home page of my project site. I'm going to hit new, and I'm going to hit list. That's what I want. I'm going to go from a blank list. I'm going to say I want an action log. I'm not going to show the site in the navigation just yet, because I don't want people to click on this thing while I'm building it. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to say show site in navigation just yet, which would mean put it right here. Put it in this list. But I could do that anytime, so that's not a problem. I hit create. Boom, I got my action log. So the first thing I want to do is, so every action needs an ID. No problem. SharePoint, when you create a SharePoint list, every record has its own unique ID. It's just whether or not you show it. So I'm going to show it. I'm going to say column settings, show hide columns. Here's ID. I'm going to move it to the first spot. I'm going to hit apply. Boom, I have an ID for every action now. Then I'm going to rename this from title to action, right? Then I'm going to create a project column. So, but it's going to be a lookup column because I want to look up on the projects that I already own, or I've already created, I should say. So there's a lookup. Hit next. I'm going to say this is project. It's type lookup. I'm going to choose my projects list. And I'm going to choose the column called title, even though it should say project or project name. I forgot what I called it. But it doesn't change it when you create a lookup. You have to go with the one that comes by default, which is called title, which is fine. It's not a big deal. It's just something you get used to when you're using SharePoint. There are a bunch of other options in here. Not going to go through those. We're just going to create the project lookup. So boom, we got the project. Now, also, we need to create a owner of every action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the person column. The reason I'm picking the person column is because that person column will look up everyone inside of your organization. So all you got to do is when you're filling out that column, type in like a couple letters for the person's last name, and they'll pop up, and then you choose them. That way, you know, you're not trying to figure out how to spell a last name or anything else like that. You just pick the person from the list. So I'm going to say person. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to call this column owner. I don't have to call it action owner because we already know this is the action log. You all right? So owner. Then we're going to make a status. So, you know, every action can have a status. So I'm going to say choice. That's where we pick things, right? So I'm going to say next. I'll say this is the status column. And then I'll give it, I'll say open. This action is open. I'll say the action is in progress. And then I'll say the action is complete. Now, I like open to be yellow. That's just me. I like complete to be green. I'll do that. And in progress, that could be blue. I like that being blue better. Let me get a lighter blue than that. Let's go here because all these other colors are blue. Now, by default, every time you create a new action, I'm just going to say it's open. Because to me, as soon as you put an action, that's open until you get to work in it, right? Let's look at the more options. I'm going to want it to be a drop down. I don't need it to be multiple selections. I am going to require that this column includes information. All right, actually, wait a minute. I don't actually have to require that it includes information. You know why? Because I've already set a default value of open. If the default value was none, then someone who's filling this out, they would get the red, indication that says, yo, wait a minute, you need to fill this out. But by default, I'm going to set it to open, so I don't really have to set it mandatory to be filled out because it's going to be filled out no matter what. Enforce unique values, I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to get into what that is. And add to all content types is already selected to yes. I'm not going to get into what that is either. Just know that as you see those columns, you can get really, really powerful with these columns. But that's for another video. Alright, after status, I'm going to create a date column. And that is going to be my due date. I'm not going to do anything else here except, now this one, remember, I did set the other one to default, but this one we're going to set to mandatory. I could default it to today's date or my own input date, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say that I need to require that this column contains information. So you cannot submit this unless you give me a due date, right? Now next I'm going to put in a comments. And I'm going to talk about this later. But for now, we're just going to put in comments. You saw I made it a multiple lines of text. I'm not going to make it mandatory because maybe you don't have any comments about this action. And then I'm going to hit save. Cool. Now, I'm going to fill out an actual action. So let's do it. There's two ways of doing it. You could do it editing the grid view, which looks like a spreadsheet, or you could hit new, which looks like a form. I'm going to show you both ways. So if we edit in grid view, this cell is read only. Why? Because it's going to make its own number. I don't need to make the number. Let's give the action. So the action could be, alright, here's the first action. We need to hold a confidential meeting with top, I don't know how to spell lieutenants. Let me tenants, with top lieutenants to discuss Marlowe's presence and influence. Remember what this project is eliminating Marlowe, right? If you watch The Wire, you know what I'm talking about, right? So there's a lot of steps a lot of actions that we got to take to do that, and one of them is going to be meeting with top lieutenants to discuss his whole presence. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to gather up and talk about what this guy's doing on the block because it's a little out of control. If you're not aware of who he is, then at this meeting we're going to talk about who he is and talk about why he needs to be eliminated. You understand what I'm saying? So what project am I getting this from? This is the Eliminate Marlowe. Now what you see here are choices from that project list right here. That's what I get to do. I get to pick from here, which is what's cool about it is that this doubles as two things. So this is my project list. It shows all the projects, all the details, all the other stuff. You saw it. And then I could use it as a lookup on my other list. So it could be risk register lookup. It could be a stakeholder register lookup. All of that. You know what I mean? So right now I'm using it for the action log. So eliminate Marlowe. Who's the owner? Now remember, I said that the owner is going to be a person field, and it can see everybody inside your organization. Right now, it's only me and my assistant inside of my organization, so I'm just going to type me. See, I just typed my first name, it found me. I'm good. The status, it should default to... So the status should default to those statuses that I showed you. I don't know what's going on here. I'll fix that in a second. The due date, I will say, is today's June 14th. Look at that. That was my birthday right there on the 12th. I'm going to say we need to do this by Friday. And I don't have any comments. Exit the grid view. Boom, look at that. And look, it defaulted to open. So I don't know why it was showing numbers instead of selections. Let's just see. It does have that. Normally, if I run into an issue like that, the very first thing that I do is hit refresh and make sure everything is good. Hit refresh. If I edit in grid view, look, now I see open, in progress, and complete. So it's fine. That was just me moving a little fast, I guess. Also, you see that this looks like a link that's clickable because I picked it out of a lookup list. So if I click it, you'll see I get the details of my project, which is, the project is Eliminate Marlowe. Here's all the details, start date, end date, and is it active? Yes, and any attachments. Now that normally opens inside of another window, which you'll see right here. So I'm going to just close that window and go back to my list. Now, I showed you how to add an item inside of the grid view. You edit in grid view, and then you start adding items like a spreadsheet. But that's not the only way to add something. The other way is by using a form. Let me show you how to do that. So boom. I'm going to hit new. When I hit new, that brings up a form. This form is the same thing you see inside of this list, except instead of entering the values down the row like a spreadsheet, you do it inside of a form. So what's the action? We can conduct a detailed analysis. What am I doing? Analysis of Marlowe's network. That needs to happen. What project am I talking about? It's the Eliminate Marlowe project. Who's the owner? Now I have an assistant. I think I mentioned that. I have an assistant who works with me. She has an account, so I'm gonna bring her up. Taiba, greatest assistant on the face of the planet. I just want to put that out there. Status is open by default, like we want it. I'm gonna say the due date is, so Friday we're having that other meeting. Saturday, let's have this meeting. I don't have any comments, but hey, let me put some comments in. We need to make sure that we have everyone available at this meeting. And if I wanted to add a document, I could by clicking attach, add attachments. I'm gonna hit save. So check me out. Now I got two items inside of my action log, but this one, when June 17th comes, I could just be like, hey, this thing is in progress. We've actually started. That's going on right there. We could just say that. Or today's the 14th, 3 days ahead of time, I can say it's in progress. And matter of fact, I'll even add here. I'll double click on this. It brings up the form, and I'll say, as of 14 June, I've already started talking to Prop Joe about this, right? I hit tab so it can save itself. You see it saved. Then I hit close, right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a few more items to this action log, and then we'll discuss further what else you could do. So I added 2 more items, but I wanted to show you a couple things. So I left these 2 blank to just show you that if I left the 2 new ones I added, I left them blank to show you that we can do what we can do in Excel, which is just drag items down like this. So you see I just filled in eliminate Marlowe as the project. Hit exit, we're good to go. And I have various status right here. So it's open, it's in progress, it's open, or it's complete, right? Now, here's a couple things that I could do. Let me spread this comments column out. Right. Okay. So now I got my action log. Now, you know what? I am ready to put it inside of the sidebar. So, real quick. Alright, so here's what I'll do. I will grab this URL. Right? I'm going to say edit over here. I'm going to move me out of the way. Well, I didn't even have to do that. But I'm going to say add. I'm going to drop that URL in there. Let's get rid of this. Then I'm going to say this is action log. Then I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to move this up under all projects. I just want it right there. Then I'm going to hit save. Right? So now you can see I have my home, all projects, action log, risk register, stakeholder register, timeline, all of that. I'm going to go to my action log. Boom, I got my action log, right? So as of this point, we are done. We've created the action log. The only thing I'm going to show you now is some extra sweetness that you can sprinkle on it to make it a little bit better. You know what I mean? Let's say that I only wanted to deal with my actions. I don't care about this whole list. So what I'm going to do is come here and filter and pick the me filter, hit apply, and then I'm going to come here and say view as, say my actions. Now, if I was okay with everybody else seeing my actions, which I am because everybody can see the actions, it doesn't matter. But maybe I don't want to clog up the view lane because every time you make a new view, it adds to the list. So I'm going to make this a private view. First, I'm going to call it private. I'm going to add private to the end, and I'm going to uncheck this, which makes it private. So I hit save. So now, when I come to the action log, look at the action log. It shows 4 items, right? Let's get a count on that too. Right here. So there's 4 items, right? But I'm going to say, I don't even care about that. I'm going to my items. See right there? My actions, private. The reason I got to put private on there is because when you make a private view, SharePoint doesn't even show you a way. SharePoint doesn't remind you that it's private. So you go away from this for a few days or a few weeks, you come back, you're like, yo, just use the My Actions view. And somebody's like, what are you talking about? I don't see no My Actions. And you're like, dang, that's right. It's private. You can't even see it. So remember that. When you make a private view, do something to let yourself know it's a private view. So here's my private view. It only shows my actions. Every time a new action comes up, it's going to be on my view. The other thing too, unlike Excel, when you create new workbooks, new tabs at the bottom of your spreadsheet, and you try to keep those 2 tabs in sync, by like, you make an update on one tab, you got to go make the same update on another tab. You don't got to do that in SharePoint, because in SharePoint, altogether, it's all one data set. But I just happen to be viewing it differently. So I'm going to say this item here, hold confidential meeting with top lieutenants to discuss Marlowe's presence and influence. I'm going to say this thing is now in progress. Boom. Saved right there. See? It's in progress. Now look, when I go back to the action log, the full action log, It's the same one. It's in progress. I don't have to go from one view to the other. It doesn't matter what view I'm looking at of the data. All of it is going to just stay in sync and keep updated. Now let me show you one more thing. So I can export to Excel, right? Which I keep telling people, stop putting your data into Excel. Don't do that. Instead, put your data into a system, and then when you need to look at it in Excel, export it out of Excel. I just exported it out of Excel. You know why that's important? It's because you get clean data, super clean data. Instead of like trying to get everybody to have clean, good data that you put inside of Excel, don't do that. Just put it inside of a tool, put it inside of a system, whatever, and then export it out into your spreadsheet, and you get your clean data right here. Now let me do this real quick. Something I like to do is on the Home tab, I go to Format, and I say the row height, I want it to be 15, no matter what. So then I just get straight up rows. I'm a big stickler. Is that the word? I love when my data is just straight up the way it needs to be. I don't need to see nothing extra. I just want my dry, raw data so I can do whatever I want with it. That's like the best data to play with. So I'm going to come here and let me move me out the way. I'm going to call this the raw export, right? Now I'm going to come here, hit insert, and say I want a pivot table from table arrange. I'm already there. My cursor's right there. I'm going to say new worksheet. Then I'm going to move me out of the way again. So this is a export of the action log, right? So I'm going to say give me the title, because again, the title that we have is actually called action, but it doesn't show that. It just stays as the title. The internal name is called the internal name. The internal name stays there as title, but we know what it is. So let's get the title in there as the row. Alright, so there's my stuff. Conduct detailed analysis, hold a confidential meeting, blah, 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 blah. I'm also going to add a slicer. Let me get a slicer in here. First, I'm going to highlight the pivot table, put my cursor on the pivot table. Then I'm going to insert a slicer. And I'm going to say status, because I'm interested in the status, right? I got to talk to the big boss. The big boss likes to see what's going on. If I hit complete, we only got one complete item. If I hit in progress, we have 2 items that are in progress. If I hit open, we have 2 items that are open. I don't like the way that the pivot table keeps moving every time I hit the slicer. So let me do this real quick. It's not field settings, I'm sorry. It's actually pivot table options, and then auto fit columns with column width. Auto fit column widths on update. I'm going to uncheck that, hit OK. Now look, I hit complete, it stays still. Hit in progress, it stays still. Hit open, it stays still. Let me unclear that. Alright, now here's the cool thing. You have to go see your supervisor. Your supervisor wants to know the status. You say, alright, I got the pivot table here, and I got the filter. I got my slicer, so you can easily just go down the line and talk about what's going on. So you say you don't want to know what's complete. Maybe you do. The big boss wants to see what's complete. Scratch that. The big boss wants to know what's in progress. And you know what? Big boss wants to know due dates. Up. All right, just like that. This is a terrible pivot table, but just bear with me. So this one is due. All right, let's clear it all up. All right. So there are the due dates, right? What's in progress? June 17th and June 16th. Hey, the 16th is in 2 days. When are we going to hold this confidential meeting? Are we good to go? That's what the big boss wants to know. But check this out. I'm going to leave that right there. Let's go back to SharePoint. I'm going to say that sending a team of trusted soldiers, that is complete. I am recording and I am being interrupted. Can you turn the oven off of me, please? All right, that's fine. As long as that pork got a nice crust on it, you know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna go back to SharePoint. All right, I'm gonna change this to complete. So now you can see we have 2 in progress, 2 complete. Now look at this spreadsheet. This isn't any camera tricks. I'm just going to come in here, go to the data tab, and I'm going to hit refresh. Right? So I hit refresh. When I hit refresh, now open has faded. See how it faded? Because I don't have any more open items. All I have is complete and in progress. So when I hit complete, send a team of trusted soldiers, start a series of covert surveillance operations. Look at it. Send a team, covert operations. And then these 2 in progress. Hold a confidential meeting, conduct detailed analysis. In progress. Hold a confidential meeting, conduct a detailed analysis. Let's undo all of them. Look at that. And all because you just hit refresh, because this spreadsheet is connected to SharePoint. That's why I'm like, don't put data inside of spreadsheets. Export your data from a spreadsheet. Export your data from a system into spreadsheets. Then, let the spreadsheet stay connected to the data, and you just refresh that spreadsheet and let it pull in the information. And then you do all your analysis on the information. Don't put the information inside of spreadsheets. It's too much human error. Don't do that. Let me show you one more time so you know it's not a fluke. So when I come here, this one is in progress. I'm changing this to complete. It's done. I say close. I come back to the spreadsheet. You see it's open and still faded. But when I hit refresh, alright, I hit open, I hit refresh, wait a minute, yeah, this thing's complete. I keep forgetting open, I'm sorry, open is the, alright, look, I keep getting complete and open mixed up, I don't know why, but anyway, look, complete, 3 items, in progress, 1 item. And if you look up here, 3 items are complete, 1 item is in progress. There's your action log. Highlight me on LinkedIn. Thurman, let me widen this. So Thurman Trotman on LinkedIn, ThermanTrotman. I hope you found this helpful. To be quite honest, this is just scratching the surface. There's a ton of things you can do with SharePoint and putting an action log inside of here. I want to take the time out to make like a in-depth course, but I don't want to take the time to do that if nobody's like really interested in doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like going all in depth. But maybe you are. Holla at me. Let me know. YouTube, stop hating on me so I can put links inside of the comments. Use the comments of my videos. All links and any links that are pertaining to this video or that would help you out, I'm going to put inside of the comments. So make sure you do that. I don't know about using cards inside of my video. Like to recommend other videos. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. But for right now, I want you to just focus on this video, which you did. And now all the supporting things you need go inside of the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. Holla at me, let me know if it was or if you need something else. Later.